Welcome to M3 Millennial Money Management. I'm Michael, your bougie black brother, and I'm here with my co-host and partner in crime, Chaz Jenkins. What's going on, brother?
What's up?
Well, we have a special M3 today. We have a special guest, and we wanted to get into some specific topics with employment and transition and a couple of things that we normally don't kind of talk to. We'll get back to the financial stuff in a little bit, but this time we wanted to get into really what will it sound like? What else would it be? So I'm going to hand it over to Chaz. Chaz, lead us into this, bro, and introduce our special guest.
Man, there's been a shit ton of shit happening since the last time. Ain't gonna be able to go into everything, but
not really.
but I'm really excited. So this is a situation where I started a job at the same time. Somebody else started a job around the same time, and we're leaving the job around the same time.
Coincidence and shit, right?
Right. So I'm very excited we got Will in the studio. What's up?
Yeah, we got a
What's up?
special guest for M3 because we wanted to have some transitional conversation.
Yeah,
Not like our regular financial, try to get you up on what's cool with financial. We want some transitional things because we had a couple of series that we talk about career. We talk about career versus job.
In particular, with the last time it was just us two, I was coming off the layoff and I got a new gig.
Yup.
There's a new gig was at this place, and a couple of interesting things happened. So
we'll get a little into it, but our special guest is Will here. What's going on, brother?
What's up, gentlemen? How y'all doing, everyone?
Doing well. It's my homeboy from New York.
From NYC /
Queens. We had to school this Georgia kid. We got to identify our boroughs. You know what I mean? So
he's like, oh, that's what y'all do.
That's what y'all do. Yeah, that's what the fuck we do.
New York people. Which one?
That's what we do.
Nah, he hated at the job I was talking about, New York. He would hate it.
Yeah.
He would hate it. That and being a Virgo.
Hashtag. Oh my God. Hashtag Virgo. I was like,
those two things.
If I gotta hear that shit one more time,
you got to live with that shit.
Yeah, man. No, actually, I love New York.
Hey,
if I could afford it, I'd be out there tomorrow.
Nah, I wouldn't. Even if I could afford it, it's too much stress.
It's a lot. It's a lot of noise pollution, definitely.
So I just want to go ahead and jump into it. So, well, we linked up at the job. Just happenstance. The team we were on had the two roles open. You got one, I got one. I just want to. Can you just tell us how did you end up at this particular role? What led up to that point? What's your general background? And I definitely wanted you to dip into the athletic thing too.
I have a professional background in two things. One is sports. I play a little football here and there. But the main thing, and the thing that brings us all here today,
right,
is I'm a consultant for IT, software management, or software development. I do project management, business analysis. Have an 8-year background of doing that. Just traveling, work with different consulting companies. My goal is to work with small and medium-sized Black-owned businesses, and kind of level up how we do things, process improvement, just organizational skills, and then of course, having that financial acumen to be able to go out and move accordingly in a world dictated by finance and money and those who control it.
So, quick question. So, how did you tie in the financials as well as the IT? Or did they go hand in hand as you start moving through your career with that?
Well, I really don't have a background in terms of financials is concerned, but money or the system of money that we operate under and how that applies to businesses. You know, just whether we're on the macro level of talking about, you know, project management, or we're in resource management, things like that, or you know, we're just talking about every day, like, you know, I'm going to make a budget. I have these are the tax write-offs for a business, you know, invest here. These are, you do the research, due diligence, all those type of things, liabilities. Okay. So like just everything that surrounds corporations or, you know, legal entities, project management, software development, that IT on that IT side, as well as just, you know, I guess you would say the more of the soft skills or the stakeholder management and how those things really work together to form, I guess, you know, the business, right?
Yeah, and just for the financials, that's when you're dealing with large, complex IT projects. Staying in budget is very important.
Absolutely.
So, you know, that's a huge component that, I mean, in terms of the value add, that's also what I'm hearing as well in terms of tying it to the financials. Gotcha.
So leading to that, because you'll wind up at the same place. So what was attractive in
how did you get there?
Yeah.
Because you got more experience than me, Play.
Yeah. Well, so I was doing a consultant role up in upstate New York, Albany. I was working with a group of lawyers for New York State, kind of working on how to improve their processes, documentation, things like that. So my contract was coming up there, and this was around November 8th, 16.
16.
So
2 years. Pretty much 2 years, right?
Yeah, right before Donald got elected. Anyway,
right.
So I was really considering my family, considering, you know, getting kind of back closer to home. They live down here in Georgia, so you know, I realized that culturally there was going to be a time of, you know, uneasiness, uncertainty. So I was looking for a role down here in Atlanta. I came down in Atlanta like a year before I ended up at the company. Before I ended up at the company, and I was with another company located in Buckhead, and it was financial services company located in Buckhead, and you know, I did a little contract there, but I was looking for a more permanent, more long-term assignment. So you know, that was a contract that became available, and you know, what they told me was that it was a contract to hire type position. I come on, and then you know, I would be moving more permanently on there, and I was looking for that.
So that's the same thing I was told.
That's why I asked that, right?
And as a refresher, you know, I needed a job. I wasn't considering I guess I was considering, you know, everybody close because, you know, my income helps with the house, obviously.
Exactly.
So, me being out of work too long is just not good. So with the recruiter was like, hey, you know, got this opportunity, and in retrospect, I can definitely say let's talk about the interview. So I get that you had to, you know, it was it was contract to perm, but were you oversold in the interview in retrospect?
I wasn't oversold in the interview.
Okay.
I pretty much understood what type of
situation. Okay.
I think that, you know, even as our time there, I kept looking at you and being like, don't be surprised, like this.
So how was your interview? Because mine was, it's dynamic, travel opportunity, lots of projects, lots of acquisitions, gonna be great.
No, I think I think they
had
knew
a different salesman.
I think they knew they couldn't fudge me with that type of.
And again, I'm more like I'm low key trying not to be thirsty, but I needed it at the time.
So you was a neophyte in the area.
Oh my
pretty
God.
much.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So for you was like, you can take it or leave it. Is that what you're saying?
I mean, no, I wanted it.
Okay.
That's because like it met my needs or my ambitions, my goals at that time. I mean, again, like I felt like this was job security in terms of they were giving me.
You know what? Right.
You know what I'm saying? I mean, I had I was senior business analyst. I didn't really have to answer anyone except for an amazing manager, you know, in terms of like giving me autonomy to do whatever I needed to do in terms of that.
And that shit feels good.
Oh man.
Yeah.
So like I was feeling like, you know, at the time, like this was really the place I needed to be.
Okay.
In terms of, you know, this wasn't where I was doing private consulting, but you know, we'll probably speak to it in terms of the work environment. I could have easily had other businesses or whatever popping.
So I wanna talk about, because we were on like separate tracks in terms of I'll just say attitude meter. So my attitude meter was negative immediately. So for me, it was like I started to notice things and see things. Again, I'm coming off the interview and. And okay, here's a perfect question. Well, how many team meetings have we had?
Our team personally, like our 4 people, or
the company,
like our 4 people. None.
How many department-wide meetings have we had?
Maybe like 4, like department-wide, like whole IT. Maybe like 4.
So
no, let me tell you about meetings though. But since we on the topic,
okay, go ahead.
We've had, I don't know, man. Like since I worked there for the 6 months I worked there.
Oh, using right.
I would say that we literally had 2-hour-long meetings
every day.
2
hour long.
2, like plural 2,
right?
Singular hour-long meetings. Every day for no reason.
Meeting for the meetings.
I don't know.
To set up meetings or let's just meet.
It's really and I'm okay. So like I've been to a couple of places. You know, just so that there's no problems. I don't want to name any place, but you know, this was one of the most dysfunctional like. You would not believe that a company that is $1 billion company in revenue would have some of the. I don't know how they survive audits. I don't know how they. I don't know how they really do it. But the fact that, you know, I think this is speaks general to in general to a larger problem with corporations. But yeah, this was bad. This was surreal bad, and I don't believe that anybody who considered themselves a professional period in any way, sense, or form, much less an IT or analyst or consultant professional, could actually believe the amounts of absurdity that would take place.
So let me go back to the attitude meter. So my meter, Will was like, I give Will a lot of credit because he was like, yeah, you know, all it takes is, he was very hoorah. It's all about, you know, trying to raise morale, this or that. And I was like, man, fuck, this shit is stupid. I'm out of here. I was about a month, 2 months in. I was like, man, I can see the writing on the wall. I called my recruiters. And I was like, hey, I don't think I'm going to be here. Here's why my little panic button went off. This motherfucker was talking about, hey, remember that one time we didn't meet company goals and they cut our retirement? I'm like, what? So they cut the match. So let's say you're planning for a match. Say the match is 3%. They cut that bitch to, I think they eliminated the match for 1 year or something like that.
Yeah, I think it was like, it went down to 1.5. It was again, like, this is when I say the amount of absurdity. And then the CEO, like, this is one of those 4 out of the 5 meetings that I was telling that we had then the CEO came and said it was it
was like, hey guys,
it's your fault.
You didn't meet the goals.
You didn't meet the numbers that we arbitrarily set because, okay, again, this goes to this is $1 billion company in revenue,
right?
But they're owned by a larger company that is a global power.
Yeah, and that's so they're publicly traded under
something.
We were under a subsidiary,
right?
And the publicly traded one is the one that, you know, reports. That's the one that's traded, whatever. So I'm like, at the end of the day, I'm just like, man, I was like, I'm out.
I'm puzzled by is that portion of the business should never be touched because that's part of the fringe benefits as opposed to
There are no fringe benefits that I can see.
There were people working there for 35 years who remained managers. 35 years in a corporation and managers, and they had to struggle to get a manager.
So this
was a good old boy system.
There's two things happening.
Wow.
I think what we were seeing, and it's almost like I appreciate it because it was like a living case study. On one hand, this is the result of when you have a company that grows, and you have the same people. Let's say you're running a $100 million company, and that's nothing to laugh at. But let's say you only have, so many employees. You multiply that, 200 million, 300. You go all the way up to 500 million. The way you run $500 million versus $100 million is not the same. But what if you have the same thought process, same ideas, same politics, then it continues to grow. So what you kind of have is this kind of, put together situation, and it's like, it's not from best practices. It's from, back in the day, so and so always did it. So
that's what we're gonna do,
basically.
So how long, this portion of the business been operating?
For a while.
So it's not like a startup 4 or 5 years.
No, they've been around for a while.
The company grew through acquisitions quite rapidly, and it's growing quite rapidly through acquisitions. So this company has been around probably. The origins of this company have been around for 100 years, probably.
Yeah. And they survived through different forms. So
okay.
I will say this, and this is maybe a lesson for me. When you look at a company that's going from private to public, sometimes that time is like, okay, you just became public. Is like, have you learned how to be a public company? Because that's a skill in itself.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Versus when you come from private, you can do anything when you're private.
So different priorities.
Yeah, you're not subject to the same audits, the same scrutiny,
boards, all of that.
So if you're a couple of years removed from that public thing, outside of like tech companies like Uber, they're trying to do they're eyeing an IPO, obviously. Certain companies they groom themselves to be ready for that. But if you just kind of say, you know what, if you get purchased and then they decide to make it public, that means they probably weren't prepared to be a publicly traded company, which means they're going to have growing pains in terms of their internal processes.
So let's paint that picture, because y'all giving a lot of examples, which is crazy as fuck to me. But
hey, bro, I think it's way more common than I give.
No, it is common. But here's where my question to kind of both of y'all is: could you have seen this on the outside before you actually? I want to jump into
this. Yeah.
Okay.
So, I went on Glassdoors.com. Now, Glassdoors is kind of like, obviously, the person who has a bad experience is gonna leave leave a review.
Yeah.
And then it's like there's a lot of people who are, it's kind of like a bank. So sure, there's corporate jobs, but the people who are, the bankers and the people on the branches, the salespeople, they're gonna be like, oh, the goals are too much, da da da. Is that really gonna tell me a lot about, the corporate side?
Not really.
So for me, I don't know. But again, I wasn't really in a position to really scrutinize it that heavily.
Gotcha.
I don't know. Will, how did you, in terms of predicting this on the front end?
I feel like as a company, you have to you have internal and you have external customers, and I feel like when both of your internal and external customers are telling you fucking up, you fucking up.
Yeah.
Right. And that's where it's kind of hard, because me, I was looking at the waters. But the ones that's coming at me is the third-party logistics people who take contracts with bigger companies. That's never going to last. And especially if you have ignorant people in charge, to your point, because that's why this isn't new. And there's billion-dollar companies that have the most ignorant.
Well,
I don't care how many degrees you have or whatever.
I don't want to use the word ignorant. I think it's, and we debated this a lot. how aware are they? But how much? In fact, Will did a whole chart. He did a whole visual.
Wait, but you just contradicted yourself because you just said you wouldn't say ignorant, but then you said how aware are they? If they're unaware,
then they're ignorant.
Then that's the
You know
definition
what? Okay.
of being ignorant.
Fair
So
enough.
That's stupidity.
Look,
they don't know it's right and decide to do it wrong.
I'm trying to be diplomatic here.
No,
Try
see,
not.
see, all
Try
right, so,
harder
all
not
right,
to be.
well, see, he got the. We're gonna keep it funky.
Yeah,
We're gonna keep it
that's
on
right.
top. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
Like I don't know what he on. Anyway,
Go ahead.
I did go into a whole visual for Chaz because again, at certain times Chaz was in shock, and I was in shock too when I first, like my first couple of weeks. I had traveled to another site associated with the client, and I was very confused. Like now, if any business, right, sets up a department, right, for customer and credit finance or debt collection, a subset of customer and credit finance, right, you would think that knowing if they can't do their job, I can't collect my money. Like that's simple.
And it's a very
direct functionality. You just ask for us to be very specific.
and it's
right?
a very
right.
post-paid situation to where we bill, then money's collected. So it's not many people pay at. It's not like a point of sale. So in other words, the collections
Arrears.
team is very important.
Right.
A lot of arrears. A lot of special contracts being made to appease customers of certain key contracts they would like to call them out. I think that's fine. So,
Yeah.
key contracts or whatnot. So again, right, you would think that matter of fact, I have a whole building. I have 2 buildings actually in 2 different states associated with collecting money and like dealing with my customers and all that type of stuff, right?
Right.
I'm a $1 billion company. Now, if I tell you that as a $1 billion company, I got this department ready to collect my money so that I can report and make money, right?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Collecting money is
Yeah,
important for
that's
business.
part of
right?
that.
Right. What would you do if I told you that you were having connectivity issues and those connectivity issues were actually preventing your customer and call care agents dedicated to collecting your money from doing their job?
We need to get that fixed immediately.
No, but see, no. See, what's going to happen is we're going to tell them to open up tickets, and then we're going to report it. And then when the good old boys have their meeting and say, well, what's up with the connectivity issues? They'll be like, oh, it's sporadic, and it doesn't do anything. It doesn't keep them from meeting. Now, we want these call center agents to make 30 calls and collecting our money,
Right.
at least a day. I have connectivity issues. So like let's get very clear. Voice over IP is what I'm using to make calls. This is what I'm using to collect pull up my customer all this the internet.
Right. Yeah.
The internet is down. Call Comcast. What?
But we can't get our money though.
As a company, I don't know how you're going to collect your money if people can't talk to anyone. Can't make calls, can't even pull up a customer.
Right.
Because I have connectivity issues. So that means latency, that could be no connection, that could be anything, right?
So apparently that site is leased and they don't want to put the money into it. So but the money that they're losing by not just investing in a dedicated line. So that kind of shit that we're talking about is like, it's so obvious the decisions that need to be made, but they're not made, and it's just like you're hitting your head against the wall.
Okay.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I mean,
you know what I'm saying? So we're both in the situation, and man, we would just talk. We got to a point now. We had to a point where we just be like, "What do you want to do? Doesn't matter." We was just, you know what I'm saying?
See, like I've never been in a professional environment that was so like, what?
Yeah, like okay. Here's another question. Did you ever? I don't think I still figured it out. What is your role? What is the role?
I think the role was a tester. Truthfully,
You think so?
I think that the role. I think that the
like
role,
a QA type.
help desk.
Yeah.
Like it was between a help desk.
Bro, I didn't know help desk tickets.
Okay, but that's you. But the other 2 people on our team, that's what they did.
Was I supposed to be trained on doing help desk tickets?
Don't worry about
you experienced training at that at the company? You wait, no, but he understands exactly what I'm saying because he experienced training at the company. Now he's going to ask me. He's going to sit across from me and ask, how explain your experience with training?
Training, like out of 6 months, I got shown how to do 4 reports and some stuff in Oracle, which is good. And
so, what I'm hearing, well, to your point, they're saying we have to fill slots.
but it's
Y'all
like,
felt you're missing the whole thing.
Go ahead.
They really probably making money here, but they got to show that they have something to support this business here. But all the money's right here. That's why they ignore this shit. And you're living in an environment where the business is saying, we'll get to it, but it's not a priority until it becomes a priority. And to your point, until the wigs sit down and say, look, I just got a call from such and such. Well, we got a couple of tickets. Well, he's going to call me in about, we need to get this fixed. Gotcha. I've lived through this, and I'm the one that has to say, I got to find money. When I ran another whole building, I had to use money from here to get here until they gave me the money to fix that. But they was like, we don't need to worry about that. Long as you push my boxes out the door, I don't give a fuck about that part right there. Until they have to give a fuck about that part right there. And that's the craziness. Because I'm hearing like familiar shit, and I'm kind of like, the one word that bounces out to me is what you said is professional. I don't even understand, because being a professional company, I have to train you because I have to hold you accountable to get shit done. And if I fail to do that,
Not only that,
I'm gonna brighten his day or his whole perspective on that.
Yeah.
He said in a word that was so very important. It was called accountability.
yep.
Yeah, that doesn't exist.
and metric. No, well, in order to have accountability to metrics, now they say that they use this thing. There are metrics, but what it looks like is just, especially certain key management people, is like, so and so, yeah, check. So and so, check. There's no, I don't know what metrics or how a review is done, but it can't be based on what we've seen. It can't be real. The shit has to be make believe.
Surreal.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying?
So the manager over the department, how long that person been there?
I don't know.
Oh
No, actually, one person left, right? Didn't one of the C-suite guy? Wasn't there like a recent change? No.
I don't know.
Shit, I get it.
The big wig, the IT, and then when you say the manager, like the IT, CTO.
Yeah.
Oh, he's probably been there. He probably either came down from the parent company, or he's been with inside that good old boy system probably for 20, 30 years. They're all.
Yeah.
So they would go to their competitors and bounce back. That's how they get promoted. They just move from this company to their competitor. Their competitor would level them up, then they would come back and level them up, and then they would bounce back. And that's how they would get all their years in the industry as experience and stuff like that.
Yeah,
so
everything's local.
really big good old boy system.
So, contractor, consulting.
So let's talk about. I do want to talk about contract. Now, I think I liked I know it's less security, but from a contract perspective, as a contractor, I felt insulated from the nonsense because in my mind, even though I was.
But you're not.
Well, in terms, I'm not full time. I'm not married to anything.
Yeah.
I'm getting paid through an agency.
Yeah.
So,
but you're still getting the same type of impact. You just gotta get out of jail pass.
I'm just saying from a level of, you know what, Here's what I think happens too. I think it's really easy to get stuck because
True.
I had a situation where I'm supposed to be doing testing on an application, doing looking at the feature, et cetera, et cetera. If something is broken and I can't test for it, I got to put that shit in my resume. So I walk up to a job interview, say, "What did you do last week?" "Oh, shit." Because shit was fucked up. That's not valuable. That's not a good work experience.
But it is. Just because it didn't go through properly doesn't mean you didn't do testing.
What I'm saying is that multiplied by like 5 years, I imagine being somewhere else for 5 years and one person gonna look way better than the other person.
Within a year and a half of working there, you would become unhireable just in terms of professionalism.
Like I'm saying.
I shit you not. I'm.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. But so Will, help me out. It's
unhireable.
That's just
yeah. Okay.
It's just, I mean, I could try to bro. I could go to the most simplest detailed level of they have a 25% customer turnover.
The attrition is disgusting.
25%.
25.
Burning through customers.
25. And what they do is, and I summed it up to Chaz, but I could break it down. They just make money for their parent company. That's it. They're just a number. All those employees are tax write-offs.
It's like a pipeline.
It's not even a pipeline really. It's because it's a bridge to nowhere in terms of I'm just being honest. In terms of they're literally acquiring other companies. That's where they're spending their money, not on fixing the problems, keeping any of their 25% customers. They're just going to take. So they're willing to lose 25% of whatever customer base they acquire.
So you have personalities like us who see problems, want to fix them, and you're just okay, just think about it. If I'm a company that's buying other companies, but I haven't fixed my infrastructure, how won't the new customers that I bring in experience issues my current customers have?
Absolutely. So
it's okay.
But it's the fault of that company you acquired that you're losing it. That's how businesses ran. You do it all the time.
Yeah.
I ran into third parties that says I'm going to acquire these new customers, but yet I don't even have the capacity to take their product.
Right.
But yet they're saying, when are you going to take our product from this other warehouse? We'll get to it. Fuck it. You got to pay for this. Now that company's paying for storage and transportation.
The beauty of contracts.
You just lost money by acquiring someone who's going to in turn say, if you don't honor this, I'm getting the fuck up out of here. And it happens. And then you hired a group of people to take care of that. And guess what happens? Sorry, the contract didn't last. All of y'all got to go. What the fuck just happened?
The switcheroo.
Mm-hmm.
So I got out of that 8 years ago because I saw the writing on the walls. And as I left that company, somebody bought them again and peeled off customers. And then they bought them again and they peeled off customers. And then they used whatever little thing that they had left and said, this will benefit this bigger company. But it reduced that company probably 30%
quickly
through those acquisitions and consolidations. And then the paper industry is fucked because everything is digital. So you too stupid to think you're going to be buying these German multi-million-dollar printers that no one needs for you to print. But yet you're going to say, I'm going to buy this company because they're the fastest printers.
And all they had to do was invest in 3D printing.
But they did. But they invest in California, not on the fucking East Coast where they made the acquisitions at.
Woo!
Yeah. See?
Yeah.
So now I'm gonna just logistically, I'm gonna just go ahead and I'm gonna bake in overhead.
Yeah.
To my whole, even though I'm spending the same amount of money, where I could just have a footprint over there.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's the bit, and it's not awareness. It's not a lack of awareness. It's bureaucracy.
Mm-hmm.
It's I have to go through so many checks. Like if this was a merit-based society or corporations were merit-based in any sense of the word merit, outside of the product or the service, and like I said, sometimes outside of any sense of the word merit, they wouldn't be able to do this.
No.
They like Comcast, like these service providers, they wouldn't be able to treat people like that. Like they wouldn't be able to just there would just be rules and levels to human decency. And this is where I was saying, I don't really know anything about financials, and I mean I don't have to go into depth about all these IT things and all the technology and the coding and the hardware and all that type of stuff. What we're dealing with when we deal with corporations is we're dealing with the dynamics between something made up, not made up in the sense of like it doesn't really exist, but something that is a conglomeration of things, or you know what I mean? It's
the shareholders,
right? So again, internal and external customers, but anytime that the dynamic falls out of whack, you know what I mean? Like for a corporation, right, to feel like the consumer needs me, or the consumer to feel like they need a corporation, like iPhones, for instance, or like I mean, you can just go down a list of litany of things where people feel like they need it, and it's like
it's relative. Yeah,
it's relative. It's relative, and the only thing is that you had a level of convenience, and now you can't separate yourself from that, and that's the dynamics in so many things, whether it's technology or it's corporations or services, that I feel like is missed so often.
I actually want to do a quick segue, because as Will was talking, it just made me think. One of the things I admired about him in the workplace is his approach in terms of, he was very social, very outgoing in that regard. And I was initially, when I got there, I was fresh off the layoff, so like any relationship. I'm
bitter.
Had an attitude. Bitter. You know what I'm saying? I'm like a little stiff, standoffish. You know what I'm saying? A little bit of a tight ass in a way, because I'm like, I'm especially coming from consulting. I'm like, I remember I got not roasted one day, but I came in to a little training and like, hey, look at the guy who's too dressed up or some shit they said. I was like, motherfucker, on my head, some dude was just talking shit. And I was like, that kind of set the stage in terms of, okay, I'm clearly in a different environment. And I think with this role, I'm glad to be in it, because I think I learned a lot about myself in terms of, I learned what I don't fucking like.
Right.
So as I was setting the stage to look to job hunt and such, I told the recruiters, here's exactly what I like, because as I was coming to work every day, the shit is stagnant. I don't like stagnant. If I'm going to work in IT, I need to be in consulting, because if you're a consultant, you're working for different companies. When you're working in a corporation, you're working for the corporation's IT.
Right.
What if the corporation doesn't feel like upgrading their IT? They don't feel like spending money for a couple of years. I think we're running on some shit that's like, what, 2000 ? So, it's like if you're at least consulting, you're seeing this. You might see some old shit, but you might see some new shit. You might see some medium. You're seeing at least different things. There's some travel. So
the one question, and I just want him to match up to what you're saying is, Will, you've been doing it for a minute, and this company is probably not an anomaly, but this is a how would you say, a roadblock that wasn't in your expectation. So did it put something in your mind to say, just the next thing, what do I look for?
Well, I'm a big universe energy.
Yeah, me too.
I take signs from just like did a leaf fall and point to the east type thing. You know what I mean? But like this experience first, I understand what Chaz was saying about how he felt about maybe coming fresh off a layoff. But as a consultant, I've been in situations where I've been chopped pretty substantially. Projects have been wrapped up, things like that, and it's like that's part of the contract. And you're free to the extent that you were saying, but it's a lifestyle, and hopefully you get to the point where you've made enough money where you can deal with those setbacks, roadblocks, pitfalls, or you have a support system where you can, you know what I'm saying, like
fall back on. Yeah.
you do a couple of things where it's like it's not the immediate crunch and pressure, and then you know you got a good recruiting team, all that good type stuff. But one of the things that I took from this was, you know, not even on corporation level, in terms of our society, I don't really feel like we are very conducive to change.
No.
I don't feel like, and I feel like the way we measure change is so superficial because, like, for instance, you know, racism to people, even if you want to look at in 2018 and 2012, or yeah, 2012, 6 years ago, you know, there were so many white people who would say, you know, racism doesn't exist, right? So now, flash forward to 2018, it's like no one's going to deny that racism exists because we've seen a uproar
Litany.
of and it's hard. It would be very hard for someone to fix their teeth and
say it doesn't
and
exist.
let shit come out, right?
Right,
So,
right.
but here we are, though, right? So, but like in a matter of 6 years, something that you know we progressed so far from in the 60s.
Look at Obama.
And it's nothing like that,
How can it
right?
be?
And looking
Racism?
right,
What?
so right, and now we're to the point where you know we are at a crossroads. I mean, the conflagration is coming, right? So again, I'm taking the sign from this experience and this experience, conversations we had even before this podcast, in terms of I don't really believe that America or that certain environments, corporations are just conducive to growth, to change, and that people who are agents of that change are often targeted and then removed.
Right.
So, in terms of the company, you know, I didn't have any enemies that made themselves known.
And that's what's, and I think
I like that.
once I learned a little bit of the context, I was just like, from one of the top performers, and just to somebody just to come at somebody. Like, I mean, look, you know, there's two sides to every story. You know, someone on the other side may say this happened, this is a fucking violation, but to me, I'm looking at it like it could have easily been, you know, me. I'm walking in, I'm just doing something that bothers somebody,
Right.
and there's no conversation. There's just no. It's just motherfuckers just let you. It's I never been in that environment. Again, with my last job, I knew some bullshit was going on. That's why I started fucking with the recruiters early.
But how long did it take for you to see that, though?
That's fair. I felt like I saw it pretty early, and
But you didn't react.
I didn't react as aggressively as I did, as I should have. Which, as in this situation, I think I was aggressive in the job hunt before that happened. I want to say, because we were having a conversation about it, right?
Right. I will say that, you know, again, I was planning on being there for a longer term, and I felt like Chaz could come and, you know, learn a lot, and there was enough people there who could actually teach him if you know, got behind them and et cetera, et cetera.
No. Who am I gonna look up to? Then?
If you, in terms of skills, in terms of like in terms of technical skills, there were people who had technical skills.
Right.
Like our developers were somewhat competent in terms of, you know, what they were doing.
Were they personable? Who am I gonna miss? Then?
Well, we're talking about developers. Like, are we really looking forward to personable development? Like, you got to go to, you know, maybe Silicon. You got to go to Silicon Valley, or maybe like, you know, out in Cali somewhere to get that.
And then those are specialists.
And exactly, and
they're not.
And then you probably won't be talking to them because you don't have enough money. So it's just like, you know, it's like,
oh, you're not in that group.
You're not. That's another good old boy system. But you know, so again, in terms of the company, you know, I wasn't surprised. I was very surprised, but you know, just being able to adapt, having been through it before, never, you know, over, you know, like I said, just being able to not go on a paycheck to paycheck type of lifestyle, and just being able to, you know, kind of exercise foresight. Even though a lot of my foresight would have been just completely misguided in this case, I always had enough foresight to have that contingency plan based off of that, you know, and then and then I had a week worth of time, you know, that I was told. Here's a crazy example, because there was no reason to terminate my position. The person who told my manager to terminate my position didn't want me to know before. They were just going to let me come to work, and then when I was going to come into work Monday, or call me Friday afternoon and say, don't come to work Monday.
That's some cold shit, man.
Right. So again, like that was what they wanted to do, but because of my manager and I's relationship, he informed me that,
here's what's going on.
Coming.
You have a week, right?
Yeah.
Your contract's up in a week.
And with that situation, financially, it's better for me to work out work my last 2 weeks, because I am on I'm a contractor, so there's no off days for me. I don't show up, I don't get paid. But I knew there was a chance. Oh, he's gone. Oh, the Stephen A. Smith. He's gone. He's
gone.
Right. So I'm like, what did these motherfuckers tell me not to show up? I knew there might be a risk of that, so I was like, but at the same time, I didn't want to be fucked up and just say, I'm out, bitches, do some Rick James shit. So that whole situation was just, I wasn't a big fan of it.
So I want to say this on one note, Chaz.
Yeah.
The last job taught you some things.
Oh, absolutely.
That taught you to have your antenna up early. So that's how you was able to see this. Now with this, you're well aware of where you're going next, because you've already built up a lot of stuff to say. Where am I going?
Perfect the timing this was.
Okay.
At least on my end with this situation. I turned in my 2-week notice the same day I technically completed a 6-month contract. So my contract is done. Hey, we're going to have the conversation. Should we extend the contract to go full time? Neither. I'm out.
Because the contract is up.
Right. So I just do the 2 weeks so they can do their ramp up, hire, whoever the fuck. Now, here's the fucked up thing.
Uh-oh.
I talked to the recruiter. She was like, she used the word progressive. So who should we hire? What kind of person would work? And I was like, you need somebody who's old, who doesn't give a fuck. Because if you're young and ambitious and want to do something,
it's going to ruin you.
And again, I use the word learn. It's like, even the people who you actually can learn from, they're too busy working. You know what I'm saying? They're too busy being working managers or whatever. So,
but they're professionals. I mean, that's how William started this off. They're professionals. They're hiring professionals, but they're not professional.
Exactly. So
that's the problem.
I was like, I don't even know who in my circle, who in my network I'd actually want to put on this shit. Like, hey, do you want to have a long commute and have a somewhat satisfactory? I mean, basically, you have work-life. The work-life balance is great. I give them that.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, relative.
Okay,
if they like you, because if not, then they'll tell you that
Yeah, so it's relative, because there is an 80-20 rule. 20% of people are probably 80% productivity. But in my case, I was very much work is work, and I didn't really open my laptop that much when I was at home.
Never opened my laptop when I was home, unless I was working remote, and then it was just open.
Yeah. And that's it.
They're just keeping 100 on.
Right. So,
there was nothing to do. What did you do all day? Not shit. Like,
That's
literally
it.
not shit.
Right.
Yeah,
I want to test this. Oh, the environment's down. Oh, I want to test this. Oh, this is broken this, and this is broke the web services. Oh, I want to test this. I want to, okay, let's talk to this person, get this alignment here so that we can, ease up pains downstream. Oh, no.
We can't do none of that.
We can't do that. We got to talk to this person. And
And
it's like, how do you have the VP of finance approving matrices for responsibilities in applications? I don't know.
That's a whole other side shit.
That's just an example of like, what are we doing over here? What is really going on in this circle?
Right.
All right, so, Will, I wanted to ask, about a year from now, do you have any idea where you'll be?
Nope.
Are you on a journey right now?
No, everything's a journey. Life is a journey. But I definitely know that, like, I guess even to loop back into what was going on before we kind of separated, is like, this experience I take science from the universe, and like I said, this is kind of like a push for me to go in that direction that I feel like I need to go anyway. And again, conversation we just had before, like I'm not trying to be in America, honestly. I mean,
And
just to
I
be-
do
just
want
to
to.
be
I want to
1,000 whatever.
piggyback on that. So, Mike, we had this conversation like it was months ago, but I've been writing the scripts. We had a table read recently, and that's something I really like to do. People like the table reads. The people out there are funny, and I see myself trying to make a wave into the writing. That said, I look at some of the older writers. I really love James Baldwin.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Just that, just African American writer, just talking about time, just the times and all that shit. And just the tradition of motherfuckers just, I can't take it no more, and they just go to Europe. In his case, there's a lot of Black Americans who go to France.
Right.
And just kind of what Will is saying is just, I've been definitely feeling that way because the current vibe of, I'm so tired of people just, it's like, the woman was like, you can't enter this condo or prove you live here or you can't come into a pool or calling the police on children. It's just, come on. I'm tired of it.
Right.
Hey, and I want to say this, just so I can. I ain't gonna say I'm from New York. I ain't gonna say I'm Jamaican. I ain't gonna say I'm Beijing. I ain't gonna say all that. All I'm gonna say is, I don't run. I don't be doing no running away from things. I'm not like a runner away of. Even if I feel some type of way, I'll stand there and feel that type of way, or I'll stand there and stop that type of way from happening. You know what I mean? That's how I feel.
Right.
But again,
no, I think you summed it up perfectly with the change agents.
Not even that. It's just that there's an energy that is associated with what goes on here in America, and a lot of people don't understand that have never left America. A lot of people don't who are unaware that there's places outside of America, aka ignorant of shit.
Yep.
Like it's just unreasonable. You know what I mean? Like to me, it's like the globe is that Mason-Dixon line for a lot of sense and purposes. You know what I mean?
Dang,
like,
that's a quote for that ass.
because it's not like every place has its problems, and like my people are from the island, so like a lot of them came here, like they came here to America, but they came here to America off of a dream, the American dream, and that dream has really morphed and is continuing to morph and trend more toward not so lovely. You know what I'm saying?
So I'm saying that said, I'm really looking back and kind of what you're saying in terms of not wanting to run away. We're Black professionals, working in a great industry, a lucrative industry, and it's like, okay, at the end of the day, I look at it like this because we're sitting here, we're talking about our experience and such. You guys know I went to China this summer,
Right.
and it was a great experience. However, I know at the end of the day, if you talk about if you're too radical in terms of politics, you can get jailed or go missing, or it's just like I'm thankful at the high level. I'm thankful because you know what, I'm not in the bad position.
Right.
I'm pretty well off considering other motherfuckers, but we're not. I don't think we're satisfied at just being content at the same time. So I'm trying to kind of reconcile. I want to be grateful and have appreciation for what I have. At the same time, I can't just turn away and ignore the shit that's going on. So if I feel like I can't impact anything, society on a large scale, and say, can you not call the police on, it happened not near the job, but in the same county as the job. The woman, that's where the woman called the police on the guy babysitting the children.
Yeah. We saw that.
African American guy.
And she
Followed
him.
Caucasian children. And I'm like, if the roles were reversed, that first of all, it's dangerous. It's just, I'm tired, bro. And
I always say this, and I've got fed up later in my life. I just make a plan. So my plan is to have somewhere else.
And that's where I'm at. I'm at the point to where.
So move your frustration, and I'm about the energy. Move that frustration into the plan.
And so that's what I'm doing.
So I tell my niece, I said, so You love all this traveling. You've been around the world. You know what the world looks like. You don't like what's here. What is your plan? So if you have a plan and say, well, I want to go here because I've lived in Africa. My family's from Africa. They have place from Africa. I've been there. I'm not sure if I really want to go there. Then make a decision. You can't complain about your condition right now without having a plan to change it.
I agree. 100%.
And your change, what I'm hearing, and that's part of mine too, is where do I go? How do I establish it? And if I want to be a writer and fish, then I'm going to fish and write.
So I just bought a book, The Writer's Market 2019 edition, and it just kind of teaches you, how to, just learn the actual how do you monetize your writing, the agencies and all that shit. So I'm like, I want, like, Dave Chappelle made a bit about, celebrities in rehab. They go to rehab, that's base. Like, anytime you're going through some shit, celebrity just goes to rehab. So I'm kind of like, I want, like, a rehab internationally. Where shit gets too real here, I can just go there and be good.
Yeah.
So I don't know what that looks like. I mean, I'm looking at France just because that's like the African American writer tradition. And I fancy myself as a writer. At least I want to grow to be on that level. But I definitely agree in terms of the U.S. is like I don't know, man. I don't want to be doom and gloom, but
so all these countries, you got to look at their political points too.
If I'm making money here, I don't give all that.
So when you go over there, you're going to be an American. You're not going to be French.
Yeah.
And their immigration policies are very different than ours. So you have to be prepared, especially with, you said it, Macron. That's who
Macron. Yeah.
Yeah. You got to be aware of that because I want to live in Italy. Until I sat
similar
down.
region.
I sat down with the people of Italy and said, it's beautiful, but what's going on is we're losing a lot of our benefits because the country, not the city, is losing money because of how the country is being managed.
Of course, and I know that's long term and et cetera.
I got that.
You know what I'm saying?
So to me,
that's part of the planning.
Right. So that's the part of the plan. Yeah, that's all I want to get at. And to me, I mean, Will, you keep talking about the energy, and that's where the energy is sending me to say, be prepared. Don't be prepared because you live in a lucrative society and you can make multiple benefits in what the system can allow you to do. Just be prepared. And I want to be prepared, and not just for me, but for my family.
Of course. Yeah.
And just go from that.
I agree with everyone, and I think that the most terrifying thing about living in America is there's no preparation for it. Like,
you know what?
They if you can't get shot by a racist person, you can get shot by somebody look like you. You can get shot by anybody. Because guess what? It's a crazy, and I don't think even Americans understand. Like when someone says there was a mass shooting, it's one of those surreal things. Like people are like, oh, it can't happen to me. It's like it was like this. The dude. This is what I'm saying. It's like the dude who posted that thing where the woman was keeping him from coming in the condo, right? He posted on his social media. He's like, I never thought this would happen to me, and those are the type of people who irk me the most, right? I'm a firm believer is what you permit, you promote, and truthfully, we've promoted too much nonsense within our own communities and within our country, and I think that I don't want to say that we started it with this inclusive trend or this everyone's a winner or everyone
gets the participation trophy.
Yeah, I don't want to say equality. I don't want to say these things or intersectionality or identification. I don't want to say those things because I know those words are triggers for people. But there's an energy or a mindset that everyone deserves everything.
The entitlement effect.
Entitlement. That entitlement energy is what it makes things unprepared. You can't prepare for who feels entitled and how they feel entitled.
And it manifests in different ways. There's
for different people.
Men feel like they're entitled to, hey, if I take you out, I'm entitled to this.
Right. Men and women
dating, work, kids, the relationship with their parents. this is, yeah. So that in itself, so I love the fact that you said, what you permit, you promote. And I think that's for me, if I permit myself to stay in this current role, I'm not holding myself to a high enough standard.
Hell no.
You know what I'm saying? So, hey, is it comfortable? And, I can just coast, but that's not me. That's not going to get me. If I'm serious about having a spot overseas or something, why would I? No,
There.
it's just, I
I'm
won't
not
be
gonna
there.
get promoted. They taking my retirement. Like what?
Yeah, it just doesn't
Out
make
of the blue. Kind of like, well,
The number.
Since you're fucked up.
Yeah, the number
can
can change every year. Like yeah.
yeah,
You're
the
like,
goal. Yeah.
Yeah.
the hell?
Well, last year, so
So the pole gets higher and higher. I'm not going to jump any higher, but yet I still got to achieve that.
exactly.
And it's like when gas prices went from 99 cents to $3. I was like, you'll never see gas prices below $1.50 again. Like what type of sense would it make for a company who's making money off of whatever their MSRP, you know what I'm saying, their floor price, right? Whatever. They making money off of that. Now they have it some 300, 400, 500% upcharge. Yeah, they'll knock off
speculation.
They'll knock off 300, 200% for you, and you'll be happy with it
You'll
because
be like, wow,
yeah,
gas is
because
low.
again, you aren't in charge of any of your like you have no financial say in the corporations. And the powers of the level that they're working on.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? They're influencing your politicians, and we're getting legislation based off of what. And then, again, that's even what I was saying with the corporation itself. It's just a smaller system where it's applications and hardware and software and people working together. Now we're on the system of country and global where it's corporations, politicians, and weather now, and all other type of like.
I'm glad you said weather because that's been on my mind too. Like these superstorms, and maybe because we're in the South or our particular business, I'm like, what are they doing to give back? Are they giving back? How do I know?
But they're battling too. So you got industries that's battling against each other. Industries.
Whole industries.
I know,
So
obviously, lumber and your home improvement, all them.
Every industry, any industry
Generators.
that's dependent on trucking. You can't, like, I have a route that goes through a place. If that place is, I can't do anything with that place.
Yeah. But there's disaster industries.
And
They thrive on disasters.
And I feel like
so
they
want
are-
disasters.
and I feel like they're thriving right now, and it kind of like what you're saying, the energy. Like when I watch that shit on TV, it's like, I feel like I wish, I don't know, just the flood insurance and, but I like the situation in Texas. Not to just get too far off on the tangent, but why did Texas experience that superstorm? Well, they didn't. If you have it in a flood zone, that's going to be less attractive to investors, builders, developers.
right.
So hey, let's fudge the flooding information, and then
But you want to build.
and then a storm happens, and then ruin people's lives are fucking ruined.
The only difference is the people would have still built there. They just would have built it at cheaper, and the investors knew that, so that's why they did. So it's about greed. It's about it's not about the holistic approach of communities and organizations and government. It's really about greed. You know what I mean?
And you said that earlier with the iPhone. Nobody really needs the iPhone.
No, you know what?
You really don't. But
don't?
the fact is, if you say the iPhone is only going to be in Florida now, people are going to go down to Florida to get it.
I'll say this: some real shit happens, I want to record in 4K because as shit gets more crazy, and I don't want to be one of those people to be like, let some shit pop off. It can never happen to me. Then it fucking does. I'm exaggerating. Obviously, you don't need the newest, latest device.
Right.
But having a motherfucker crystal clear to cover your ass because some real shit. You know how much shit happen? I mean.
So we getting way off.
Yeah, we getting way deep. I don't want to go too deep in that rabbit hole.
There was crystal clear evidence years ago, and nothing happened.
Evidence ain't nothing.
Evidence
it's not admissible.
Yeah. So the old saying, it's not what's true. It's just what you can prove in court.
All I'm saying is, I think just general in terms of being professionals, being at a place where we can work and enjoy it, feel empowered, feel happy to go to work, and then from work going home, feeling comfortable in our communities, feeling comfortable going out. I want to be able to work, live, and play, and just not have to feel fatigued by headlines and such.
So there's a purpose and there's a job. So your purpose at a job may not be the same thing. So
No.
I have jobs that's not a purpose, but I'll use the job for my purpose and go from that. Yeah. So what I do now is, where am I going? Not in the job, but in my person. So when I leave, to your point, I want to help. I got my laptop, but if you take away all my resources to help, then guess what? I got other things I'm going to do. I got plenty I can get done. And if you force me to do that, then I'm okay with it. That now I change my mindset to say, when I come to work, if you have work, then I work. Or I'm going to have to prepare myself to get out of here because I still need to be content with my life.
Exactly.
And that's where, Chaz, it's I've been in plenty of jobs. So I know what disappointment looks like. You're seeing what disappointment looks like.
No, I'm to the point. I'm to the point now where I'm like, you know what, man, if I can get some of those fringe benefits, then I'm cool. It's not. I just want to be able to do something that I enjoy on a base level. Mm-hmm. Like my fulfillment need is not that high, so it's not like I need to be so fulfilled by a role. It's just I don't want it to be negative. I guess it doesn't have to be positive, but don't subtract.
Right.
I can take care of the rest. I have my own happiness I can fill myself up with. Yeah. But if it's draining, then that's not cool either.
So in closing, we had a lot of good conversation, but y'all kind of shocked me because I haven't experienced that in like 8 years. I just haven't. And then I'm hearing it, I'm like, damn, here's another $1 billion goddamn industry with a whole bunch of ignorant people who's only looking at their own priorities, not the priority of the complete business, or using skilled resources to take care of the business. And then they're overlooking that and say, oh, well, let's try something new, which was like crazy as hell.
I just want to ask, Will, do you have any closing remarks or anything you just want to leave us with?
You gave us some gems, so I'm cool.
Yeah, man, I'm gonna leave you good people with one more. I think that I think that I think that just even in that last recap, I think purpose is clarifying. Like, what is the reason?
Oh, hold on, wait a minute, I can attest this. We had conversations, and this is one of his phrases. Will has a couple of catchphrases.
Teamwork make a dream work, but
no.
Purpose
that's
is
TM.
Purpose is clarifying, man. I think that we have to again, what is our purpose? Like, if our purpose is to make money, there's plenty of ways to do that.
Right.
If our purpose is to somehow uplift our community, make our internal and external customers, even through owning a business or working for a corporation or whatever the case may be, if our purpose is to improve our customer or our, like I said, internal customer, external customers' way of life, I think that then we can find some type of fulfillment or gratification out of any role. And that's why, I approached why the day when I was working at the company. Like, for me to enter into a ivory tower or corporate building is hard enough in itself, like just for my whole energy and self or whatever. Right. But to go in there, sit in there and be miserable and bored,
right,
is just something I can't tolerate.
Right.
So
you try to make the most of it.
Exactly. The purpose behind going into work was the money when you're not being fulfilled any other type of way. So that's number one. And then two is, again, being able to maybe ease that next person's pain who's stuck in there, that full-time client who's been there for 20 years and they're not going to go anyplace else, and they're going to sit here and they're stuck. They're stuck. You know what I mean? Like, how can I help that person? What can I do for that person? Like I said, one thing I was telling Mia was, I can't save you, but I can help you. You know what I mean? Like, what this role for yourself that if you're here,
done.
This is what you get. but I can help you by, maybe going upstream, trying to talk to people, getting people's ears, things of that nature,
Fixing reports and shit
try to
like
influence, things like that. But while I was there in the company, I had the purpose of trying to change the culture.
Yep.
And that's what I enjoyed.
Yep.
And again, even on a larger scale, I'm still in that mindset of how do I change the culture?
Right.
How do I change the status quo? How do I become a more positive influence to the shit that I see going wrong? So I think that actually, I want to thank you guys for even having me out here, because I think this is something that I, not podcasting or anything like that, but actually just getting out in my communities and talking to people and just letting people know that there's people out here who not all just about, one thing or the other, but, a holistic approach to leveling up. So thank you guys.
We appreciate it, because what we found is sometimes people don't hear it. So we assume that people probably know it. And then when you hear, man, I was listening to your podcast and this guy was on there, was talking about, I was like, yeah. It's like, man, I never heard anything like that. That's crazy as fuck. That's like, yeah.
You can't assume.
You just can't assume that.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
And I think that, personally for myself, that was always a big problem for myself. It's like when you coming from a knowledgeable place or a place of knowing, you might think that other people know.
Yep.
And then you always have to gauge and temper that response and interaction, like, oh, you don't know shit.
Or like if they don't know X,
that right there.
Maybe
right?
they know Y. So you can maybe they have comparable knowledge.
Right.
No, we don't have that either.
They don't know
you ever seen a
don't
dog?
know shit.
They don't know.
Have you seen a cat? Okay.
Like, shit is a bodily function, and they don't know it.
Right.
Like, so you a human being, my nigga? Like, what the fuck is going on around here?
So, yeah, man.
Absolutely. So, nothing else, Chaz?
Man.
Yeah, you do.
Nah, that's what I'm saying. So we can... The script writing shit, the political shit, it's all connected, bro.
Of course
I'm gonna be
it
one of them niggas.
Yeah.
It's all connected. Do the Dave Chappelle. Y'all just gotta get out and vote. Gonna got them aliens, nigga.
No, it's all good.
Seriously, I don't. Nah, just thank you, Will. Appreciate you coming out. Like I knew this was gonna be a heavy. This motherfucker was heavy. It was dense.
But you know what? It's life.
Yeah.
And sometimes when you don't talk about life, it gets heavy, because you're kind of like, shit, yeah, I feel that, and I feel it all the time. Yeah. And then if you don't express it, then it becomes internalized, and when it internalizes, it becomes physical or emotional.
Motherfuckers get diabetes.
Yeah, fucking high blood pressure.
High blood
pressure,
pressure, you know what I'm saying?
So this is that's why I do it. This is a great outlet sometimes to hear other people. And it gets me to pull back to your point. You holding on to knowledge sometime, and it's just all you know. And then when you get to communicate with someone, you're kind of like, oh shit, like what we was previously talking about. I was like, yeah, that's part of what my goal is. I want to do a business this way. I want to do it outside of here. But I haven't been able to talk about that in about a year and a half.
Right.
Boom, it's still there. So this insightful conversation kind of helps you. And then it helps me with purpose and plan. And I always tell it, purpose and planning.
So
and go from there.
So yeah, I mean, that said, it's I have nothing to say.
No.
Yeah, for once.
So that's what's up. So Millennial Money Management, we trying to get in. M3. Trying to get in. We trying to get some more financial in. If we could get this interview that I'm working on, that would be really outstanding in investment. Let's see how real that is. I really want to test that, because
might be fake news.
Yeah, maybe fake news. You get a Fox representative up in this bitch. You know what I mean? But it's all good. But I appreciate it, Will. Thanks so much. Great, insightful conversation. Really thank you for participating. And Chaz, keep them rolling, man, because I'm not coming up with much. But if you can help me to keep going, we can keep this podcast flowing.
Oh, hell, bro. First, we're going to get your house on wheels or something, bro. God,
get me a mobile shit, right?
Hey, appreciate you, M3, man. Love you guys, man.
So I appreciate y'all, and we'll talk to you next time on M3, Millennial Money Management. Peace.